Well, hello and welcome to this week's video on the Resto Saga Classic Car Restoration YouTube channel. And this week we are back at the Toylander 1 build. I know a considerable number of you have been following this build very carefully, and it's really good to see all your comments and very encouraging as well. And thank you for your interest. So as you know, the woodwork is largely complete. The only thing that really has to be done is the tailgate at the back, and I haven't quite got round to buying any 4mm ply yet, and it actually seems quite difficult to get in marine ply specification. And to be honest, I don't want to have to buy a whole 8x4 sheet just to do that tiny little square. So I'm looking at different options for that and might be able to buy an offcut from somewhere or someone. So as you'll notice, or may not notice, there's a slight change in colour of the Toylander, and that's because I've been around the whole outside of the vehicle and covered it in PVA glue. And you'll notice here a bit of a colour change where the original wood here, and this is the coated glue, so it's slightly darker throughout. And I've got on all the exterior surfaces and all of the interior surfaces as well. And I'm also going to then turn it upside down and do the bottom as well. And the reason for doing the PVA glue is that it will seal the wood, because wood is obviously porous material, being natural, and by its very nature it will absorb moisture. Even though this is marine ply, I found a little note, although it's very hard to read, down on the blue sticker there, and also on the receipt, that all cut edges should be sealed. So I've just sealed everything over, and I'm going to then sand it down as well. The PVA glue I used is this stuff. That's just kids craft glue. Poured it out into a cup and brushed it on. £5.10 for that, which I thought was actually quite expensive, but it was from a local shop, so probably saved the money in diesel having to drive somewhere else, but still plenty left, and maybe do another coat. The other thing you may notice is that I have some metal wing edges on. These little aluminium quadrants are bought from Toylander themselves. They were £8 for the pair, plus a bit of postage, so it was about £13 by the time they made their way here to Northern Ireland. They come oversized, so they're too long to fit in here and too wide, I suppose you would say, to fit in the gap. So there's a considerable amount of trimming down, which is very time consuming, and I didn't make a video of it because I thought, to be honest, it would probably be quite boring just seeing me cutting and filing until they fitted. So this side has been fitted and is on snug. The glue I've used here is called Gorilla Glue, and I'll show you that in a second. And I've made sure that it only sits proud here, and it sits below the level of this edge so that I can fill over the top, and then obviously I'm going to fill the screw holes. And then I'll bring you down here, and you notice there's a bit of a step here as well, so that will need to be filled across the width of the wing. And there's a little step here and a little step here, so I'm going to have to fill that flat as well. It's quite a bit of filling work to do on the wings themselves, nowhere else really, to be honest. I'm going to have to dress up some of these edges with a bit of filler as well, so I have bought Isopon, which is considerably cheaper than wood filler. Then I'll hopefully go around some of the screw heads, but to be honest, most of these are going to be covered. And these screw heads here are also going to need filled over the top. You'll notice what's missing here is the closing panel, which is this bit here. And if you've watched the last couple of videos, you'll notice I had fitted it back to front, because the PTO should be this side. So I'm going to have to measure it up nicely, sand those holes flat, put it on, and make sure it's all right, and seal it over well also with the PVA. I'll show you this Gorilla Glue. This is what I'm using here. This is good because it bonds dissimilar materials, obviously bonding metal to wood. So this bonds dissimilar materials. This is quite expensive stuff. I have a little box here. I've £4.19 for that, but you use very small quantities of it. And it's interesting because it's set by water, so you have to dampen your edges, apply the glue to the other edge, and then squeeze the two together. And I'm holding it with Gorilla Tape. Why Gorilla Tape? Purely because they didn't sell duct tape, and it wasn't too expensive. So I have taped this down to hold while this glue sets. Sets in about 1 to 2 hours. which is handy enough. And as you can see, I only glued this on maybe an hour ago, and it's already starting to settle. I don't want to get my fingers attached to it in case I glue myself to the Toylander. That would not be great. You'll notice the difference between these two. I've keyed this off with a bit of sandpaper, just to rough the surface so it's not shiny. I'm hoping that any paint or filler will stick nicely to this, and I know it's aluminium, so it'll need an acid etch on any bare surfaces. So once the glue is dried in a couple of hours time, I'm going to take it off, sand down any of the glue edges, sand down the metal surface of the wing edge, and then start thinking about filling. So really starting to make some progress here actually. So I am going to leave it there. I'll catch you up in a wee second. Once the glue has dried, I'm starting to think about where we go next. Catching up in a wee second. So jump forward a couple of days and this wing corner is on and well attached. The Gorilla tape held it on while the Gorilla glue has set, and as you can maybe see here, it's all nicely sanded down to beneath the level of the wing edge. Also got a bit carried away and started with the filling, just because I really want to make some progress. This is Isopon, and this is the tin here, Isopon P38. It's just normal car body work filler. It's really easy to work with. The filler's under there, I'll not open it at the minute. And this is your hardener. So it's a pea-sized amount of hardener to a golf ball-sized amount of Isopon. I just mix it up. Use this nearly as a tray to hold it on, and then you have the little plastic spreader, and I'm using the plastic one actually because I quite like the fact that you can spread it along that joint to make it all nice and smooth. So before doing that, I actually went over the whole thing and sanded it nice and smoothly. It's amazing actually how rough the PVA had left it, which I was quite surprised at. But I've gone over it all, sanded it all down, and it's lovely and smooth. Ran the block also down these grooves to make them quite well defined. A couple of little screw heads round and about were protruding, mainly this one here, so I took the screw out and countersunk it a bit deeper and did the same with this one here. I think some of the screw heads will still be visible. That's okay on the inside, I don't really mind too much. I just want the bodywork to be spick and span on the outside. So, a bit more filling to do. I think I'm just going to take my time with this. I really want these wings to look lovely and flat and smooth, because I know these two surfaces don't necessarily line up, nor do these two surfaces here. So probably going to be multiple layers, sanding, straighten it out, sand, straighten it out. We'll concentrate on one wing, learn the lessons and transfer them over to this side. Another little fault you notice, well, a couple actually. Fairly significant panel gap down here. Not really sure how that happened. It's probably about 4 or 5 mil on each side, but I'm thinking I can probably squeeze some filler air and sand it down flat so that it all meets nicely. The other thing is this gap here. Again, I'm not really sure why that happened, but it's there on both sides. I'm going to fill it in, sand it flat, and then you hopefully won't notice it was ever there. Other things, trying to work out how to fill, see the way the plywood here has chipped off at the edges. So I'm just trying to squeeze some Isopon in along there as well, sand it flat. I'm just really experimenting at the minute. The nice thing about Isopon is it sands really easily. So I can start and stop it and always remove it, sand it back flat and have another go. The filler panel here is sitting on the inside, just haven't fitted that just yet. And then I'll also need to PVA the spare panel, so that's the seat base, seat back, motor closing base, and the inner footwells, or inner wings at the back as well. So plenty more to keep me going. So let's get a bit more filler on and see how we go from there. So more filler. I've really made some progress on this side, but this side is probably where the has come on really well. The first pass with the filler was actually really rough, but I think with a bit more practice, this has come in really nice and smoothly. So it all does need sanded down, but practice does seem to make perfect. Bit rough at the front here, but I think that'll sand nicely. And then with a second skim of filler, we'll just take it up to the next level. I've taking the front panel off mainly so I can get in to these little notches here and here. This side here is a bit of a mess, mainly because the filler had started to harden. But most importantly, I got the two sides done, which is going to take that step out. Then I'll make one last pass in the middle. We're also going to take these chassis outriggers off. They're not glued, they're only screwed at the minute, just because I'll need a skim of filler along the top and the front, just so they're nice and smooth, because those are going to be pretty obvious whenever it's painted. Down the side then, just did one wee smear down here that just needs sanded. I think this is going to be hidden with metal body stripping, but I'm not entirely sure of that. And I've hidden the screw heads round the back here as well. Down the other side, the wood had come with a slight defect here. There's like a little circle mark on it, so I've filled that, so that'll sand down nicely. Then I'm going to have to go around every single cut edge, if the camera will focus, here, just to fill these all, just so it doesn't come so obvious whenever it's painted. So what I'd really like to do is get at least one wing absolutely finished, and then I'm just going to put a quick skim of primer over it. That way I think if it's all one consistent colour, you're going to be able to see where the defects are. So I'm going to concentrate on one wing. I only had some filler left over, so I cracked on with this one. Concentrate on this wing, get it sanded down smooth, put a blow over a filler just to make it all one colour so you can see the rises and falls in the paintwork, and then go from there. So catch up another wee second when I've got this all sanded. So I've done a bit more sanding along the top. I think I have it pretty much perfect. This little screw head here and here are going to just need a bit more filler, I think. But near enough there. Not quite sure if I put enough hardener in the filler when it was down doing the fronts and along this side, but that's okay. It'll take a wee while longer to dry, and it's quite cool in the garage here at the minute. Actually, pretty messy. Look at the dust, and I really hope it's not going to go with the MG, which has had a bit of a wash recently. So I'm going to leave this video here in the meantime. Slightly different that I didn't show a work in progress, but as you can imagine, putting filler on, sanding it off, putting it on, filling it off is not the most exciting viewing. So I'll catch you up in the next video. I'll have all this nicely sanded, maybe a wee blow over with some primer just to see how we're getting on. I'm off tomorrow to the NEC Classic Motor Show in Birmingham, so catch up next time with some footage from that. And my next video, believe it or not, is going to be my 100th video here on YouTube, so that's also very exciting. So as ever, catch you again next week. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe, put your comments in, and I like the video as well, and any shares are always very much appreciated. And I'll catch you again next week. Thanks for watching.